doing really well. Today I wanted to share with you some of my tips and tricks on how to travel to an all-inclusive resort as a vegan. In less than 24 hours, me and my family will be heading out to Cuba and we'll be staying in Cuba for 7 days. And it's gonna be my second year now traveling to Cuba as a vegan. The 5 years before that I wasn't a vegan, and so I would eat just basically anything that I could find there. But this year I'm really going as a vegan, and it's a little bit trickier to travel to an all-inclusive resort when you're vegan because it's not necessarily catered for vegans, and especially the one that I'm going to, it's not the first year that I'm going there. I know that there's not that many vegan options, so because I know this, I am planning in advance and I am bringing along some food with me, and I wanted to share with you some of the food that I'm bringing with me just to make my trip a little bit easier and to make sure that I'm really getting like the proper nutrients that I need. So let's jump right in and I'll show you some of the things that I'm going to be bringing. Before I jump into this, I wanted to let you know that you're not going to see any nuts in this in the snacks that I'm bringing to Cuba with me. The reason for that is I'm still on my elimination diet, so I am not eating nuts, sadly. But if you are traveling to a resort or an all-inclusive vacation, or even if you're just going on a trip, I think it's very useful to have some nuts with you. Nuts are very high in fat and protein. They'll keep you full for a long time. They're really a healthy snack to bring along with you when you travel as a vegan. I've done this for years and years and years, even before I was a vegan. But unfortunately, this trip, there won't be any nuts. So the first snack that I'm bringing along with me to Cuba is chestnuts. Yes, so chestnuts are really, really good. I'm personally a fan. I know not everybody likes them. My boyfriend is not a big fan of these, but they taste really good in my opinion. They have a little bit of a potato flavor. They're very starchy. They're lightly sweet, and they're kind of soft. They're really, really good. Usually the way you would cook chestnuts is you would buy them raw, and then they come in like, they have a little shell, a brown shell that you would slit open, and you put them in the oven to roast, and then you remove that shell and then you can eat them. But these guys are already roasted and they don't come in a shell, so it's very convenient when you're traveling. You can just open the bag and eat them right out of the bag. So I bought 3 bags of these. I actually got this at the dollar store. This is $1.25 at the dollar store, so it's a really good price. Another thing that I'm bringing along with me are these brownies. They're made with banana and pineapple. I'm honestly not too sure how much these are gonna taste like brownies, just because they don't have any cocoa powder in them, and also they're like raw. But these are gonna be great as a little dessert to have after a meal, because in Cuba all of the desserts contain either eggs or dairy, so I won't really be able to have them. So this I think is gonna be really useful. I'm also bringing along with me some energy balls. In case you were wondering, these are not poo, okay? It's not poo, it's energy balls. I know they look kind of weird and not necessarily the most appetizing, but they are very good. They're made with dates, shredded coconut, hemp hearts, spirulina, and matcha powder. I made them last night, and it's super easy to make. You just add all these ingredients into a food processor, process it until all those ingredients start sticking together, and you form balls out of them, and you just bring them along with you. And they're great as a snack. They're great also to have like for breakfast, for example, as a little extra thing. And I'm gonna bring also these little balls on the plane probably, just to have on the way there, because the flight is 4 hours. It's not super long, but I tend to get hungry on flights. Another thing that I'm bringing along with me is soy milk. I'm bringing unsweetened, fortified, organic, of course, soy milk, just because this is going to be really useful to have with my coffee. The coffee in Cuba tends to be very strong. A little bit of milk will be helpful. And also, why I chose soy milk instead of almond milk, well, except for the fact that I can have nuts, but soy milk is much higher in protein, so it means that I'll be full for longer. And I'm also going to be putting this in the quinoa porridge that I'm going to be having there in Cuba, which I'm going to next. Quinoa flakes. In case you guys don't know about these quinoa flakes, I talked about them in a blog post that I shared a few weeks ago on my blog. I'm going to link it below, and I shared my recipe for my favorite creamy quinoa porridge. Why I'm bringing quinoa flakes and not oats is because at the moment, because of my elimination diet, I can't have oats, so this is a really great alternative for me. What I love about these quinoa flakes is the fact that they're ready in basically 5 minutes. You just have to add them in a bowl and cover it with boiling water, let it sit for a few minutes, and they're good to go. They're also very high in protein and fiber, so it's a great one to have along with you. Again, if you can have oats, just bring quick cooking oats, it will do the trick. And before, when I showed you some of, a little overview of the things that I'm bringing along with me, you might have seen big jars, like this one, and this one. But don't worry, I am not bringing these jars along with me. It would be, first of all, way too heavy, it will take way too much space in my luggage, and it's not very realistic. But what I am going to do is I'm going to portion my quinoa porridge. So I have these little bags that were once full of product from a client that I work with, and I tend to keep these type of bags because I can reuse them. Instead of using Ziplocs to portion out my quinoa porridge, I'm going to just put it inside of these and bring them along with me. They're very light, just as light as Ziplocs. And what I'm thinking of doing is putting one portion of quinoa flakes in each, and then adding on top of that some hemp hearts, along with some cacao nibs, some chia seeds, maybe some cocoa powder, because I think some of the days I'm going to be craving a little chocolate porridge, and also some goji berries. And I'll have a complete breakfast. All I'll have to do is take this little bag, empty it in a bowl, add some boiling water, and ta-da! It'll be ready. A quick, easy breakfast. Really, really simple. One last thing. I'm also bringing along some chocolat. Just because I like chocolate, and also because it's gonna be a great dessert to have at the end of the day. As you might have noticed, a lot of the food that I'm bringing along with me are sweets, and the reason for that is because I've been going to Cuba for 7 years now, and I know that the thing that I won't be able to have over there is desserts, and there's not gonna be that much snacks, so that's why the things that I bring along with me are sweet. In terms of the salty food, I think the options tend to be pretty good. There's usually some beans, some rice, veggies, and other fruits. So those are gonna be great to have while I'm there. So there you go, guys. These are some of the foods that I'm going to be bringing along with me to Cuba. I hope this video is helpful and useful to you. I know that sometimes traveling as a vegan is a little bit tricky. You don't really know what you should bring along with you. You don't know what type of options you'll have once you get to your final destination, especially when you travel to a resort. The resorts that I've personally been to in Cuba tend to be far from city centers. They're far from grocery stores, far from restaurants that have vegan options. So that's why I thought it could be fun for me to share with you some of the foods that I'm bringing along with me when I do travel to Cuba. And it could be maybe helpful to you next time you do travel to a resort in terms of shedding light on some of the food that you can bring along with you. If it was a useful video to you, make sure to like, you can share it and subscribe, and I will see you when I get back to Montreal.